It's another edition of the Limitless Wrestling Podcast. Jon Alba here, alongside the czar of Limitless Wrestling, Mr. Randy Carver, and the OG of the Limitless Wrestling Podcast. 2 weeks in a row here, the DangerKid, DK. What's up, gents?
We're on a comeback tour for this trio of podcasters now.
I'm stoked. I thought I was blackballed from the podcast.
Why would you have been blackballed? For being a jerk to
I
me?
don't know. I just wasn't on for like a year, I feel like. I don't know.
It was a long time.
To be fair, you absolutely lit up my chest.
You deserved it.
You did enter the Let's Rumble, John.
Yeah, Randy, where's that video, by the way, huh?
Oh, maybe this week. Maybe this
Watch along of Alba getting chopped next week.
Hey, I'm just saying, a watch along of the Let's Rumble would be fun as hell. That would be so much fun.
All right, I'll get that done. Okay. Let's do that.
Okay. Let's Rumble watch along would be fun as hell.
That would be fun to talk about how we put that together, too.
Oh, yeah.
That would be cool.
It's like a mess, but it's not. It's very fun to put
together. It's organized chaos.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Yes, and we had some surprises. It was good stuff.
Yeah.
But it's good stuff that you guys are listening to us here on the Limitless Wrestling Podcast, as you do every week. We appreciate it. And DK, we got some great feedback about last week's episode. How'd you feel about it?
I felt really good about it. I'm glad to hear that we got some awesome feedback. I definitely saw some for sure. I feel good about it. I just definitely thought of like probably another 1,000 things I could have said like after the fact, which doesn't help anything, but I think the overall sentiment was good, and yeah, it was a rad episode.
Randy, you had a chance to listen. Anything you'd like to add on top of all that?
I did. I listened the night it came out, and I was bummed that I couldn't be a part of it, but I think it was a very important conversation to have, and I think that honestly we'll probably have more conversations like that on this podcast, especially when we get to the area where shows are starting to come back. But to be honest, I mean, it's been a bummer 2 weeks. Like, it's been pretty emotionally taxing on a lot of people, especially those close to some of these people in the business. And it just sucks that, a lot of people, people who seemingly looked out for you and had your best interests in mind were terrible people behind closed doors. But it's the reality of everything. And I was talking to old Dougie Weiser the other day, and he's like, it's the great wrestling purge right now, because when things get back, I mean, there's gonna be a lot of good people probably receiving the opportunities and in positions that they should have been the whole time. And I think that because of all this, as hard as it is, and as just as like I said, it's been a complete bummer a couple weeks, but it's been needed, and it's going to be something that's going to really push independent wrestling, just professional wrestling in general, I think, in the right direction when we get back.
Well, we did have some developments in the last week. IWE, which, truthfully, without IWE, Limitless Wrestling doesn't exist when all is said and done.
We would not be talking on a Limitless Wrestling podcast if there was no IWE.
Well, not only that, all three of us wouldn't have ever met one another.
That's true.
Well, yeah,
that's kind of fucking crazy, but that's true.
IWE shut its doors this week, allegedly. And I feel like I do need to add that. After a string of some accusations there involving individuals that we know. But ultimately, the decision was made to close it. Randy, these were the first kind of independent shows you were going to as a little kid. You got your break in doing ring announcing. DK, you were trained there initially and made your debut as a member of the Fog. I had my first foray into independent wrestling there. I'm super grateful for all of that, but pretty surreal, isn't it?
Yeah, I would. Surreal is the right word. I was very kind of hit emotionally by that, to be perfectly honest, because it's just kind of been an institution of Maine independent wrestling for a long time, good, bad, or ugly. A lot of us ended up leaving, and I think that speaks volumes to what was going on there. And there were a lot of people there, especially throughout my tenure, who really did want to change the perception and just change how things were going in IWE. But it always felt like an uphill battle to make things a good environment for everybody. But I just think the bad outweighed the good in the end, and I think when Eric Johnson was in charge and heading the company, there was a lot less bad going on. And I know that for sure. I witnessed it firsthand, as you guys did as well. He's the guy who gave me my break. And I think when he sold everything and kind of got out, that's when really things started to get ugly. And that's not from my personal experience, but that's from talking to a lot of friends over the past week and a half, and really months and years, because you've been hearing about shit for a long time, but it all exploded really. And I just think everyone's true colors came to light, and that's what happens when you're kind of dealing with shady business people and dealing with people who when you really break it down probably don't give a fuck about the people who they're employing. But it's sad, it is sad, because it gave a lot of people their first breaks in wrestling, gave a lot of opportunity to people who without a platform like that probably would never have dove into the world of professional wrestling. So it hits all the emotions, you know what I mean? Because if it's really as bad as people have been saying that it is, then it's good riddance from me. But knowing what it was at one point, it's very sad to see it go.
DK, any thoughts that you'd like to add on that?
It is very bittersweet. Seeing what IWE kind of became the last couple of years there. I really do think when Eric Johnson sold the company, that was a big turning point. I originally, when I left, it was kind of a mutual agreement. It was definitely a falling out situation. But it was basically over me speaking up for other people and wanting things to be better in that locker room, for that entire environment to be better. So, for that to be the issue of, I was champ of the company at the time. I had just gotten the title. My last match there was against Shane Douglas. And yeah,
wow.
You know what I mean?
I remember that.
And for me to be, I left, but I also was not welcome back, and basically over wanting a better environment for the roster and myself and everybody, because that's what we rightfully deserve. For that to be the issue, for that to be the kicker, for that to be where we're drawing the line in the sand, I guess that kind of is telling of where it did end up heading over the last couple of years. And so I guess I can't really say I'm surprised that it's officially gone now. And yeah, it is bittersweet, but honestly, at the end of the day, it's for the best. It
is for the best if you're not going to improve the conditions that put people in harm's way, whether it's from the standpoint of these allegations we've heard, or having a ring that is, safe, which...
That was the biggest thing, dude, because literally I would go to a lot of these local shows, especially if any of our students were doing anything on them. And I remember, I think the last IWE show I went to was January of this year, when they had Brian Malonis on the anniversary show. And I shit you not, I think I was a part of ring crew like 3 times during the night trying to fix the ring, because it was just falling apart. And I don't know how you expect people to want to go out there and put on good matches in a ring that's falling apart around them. That's unsafe to not only them, but potentially to fans. If something breaks and goes haywire, it's a liability. And I don't know.
Have you ever heard Mac Daniels' ring story with IWE?
No.
Mac Daniels, before he trained with Let's Wrestle, he went to inquire about training at IWE, and it was before a show, and he walked in and introduced himself to one of the owners, and one of the owners goes to him, "It's a good night." And Mac Daniels goes, "Why?" And the owner goes, "Well, the ring hasn't moved."
Wow. I believe that.
Listen, I have nothing but, I shouldn't say nothing, but I have mostly very fond memories, and I'm very grateful for the opportunities. And it's sad because it's one fewer place for people to get work. But if the work was unsafe and it was not a good environment for people to be in, well, then it needed to go away. So,
yeah, and it's like I said to the guys this week, I guess it just means we have to run more Let's Wrestle shows.
I guess it does.
So
I'm into it.
Also, like, it's crazy how different things could be, because if Eric Johnson wanted to sell the company like a year and a half earlier, this would be the IWE podcast. I wanted to fucking buy the company.
Interesting.
And I don't know if we've ever talked about that before.
We've
but
never talked about this before.
I wanted to buy IWE, or at least have some kind of pull there, because I was very passionate before, like, breaking out into a separate thing about trying to fix that place. But
I think we
Eric,
are.
yeah, I mean, there was a core group of us: Danny, Jossie, Ace. I'm blanking right now. Torres, Wild. I would
when
say.
he was around.
Yeah, Alexander Lee, crew from House of Glory. Like, there were a lot of guys there who were really busting their ass and wanted to make it a better place, but there just really wasn't the wiggle room at the time to kind of have any control. So totally understand that, but it's kind of crazy how different it could be.
How about that? That is a totally different scenario. I mean, listen, I think we all should definitely give some thanks here to Eric Johnson, because without Eric Johnson, again, all three of us wouldn't be talking here right now.
Right.
And I'm happy to see, I know Eric has had his, fall-ins and fall-outs with wrestling up there, but I'm happy to see Eric part of the Let's Wrestle roster. At least that's me speaking. And I think he and Brandino Davis do good work.
He's kind of a crucial part of the team now. Like, whether it's Let's Wrestle shows or the tapings or even the Limitless Dojo itself, like, especially over the past year, he's kind of become a crucial part of our operation. So I'm very happy to have him on the team. And we've, like, Eric and I have been close, and then we've been bitter enemies like a few different times, but like we're very close now. And I feel like he's just really become the Eric that I knew back in the day, when he finally kind of took himself away from promoting and kind of gained his life and perspective back. Because I think you get in a zone where you're just doing it all the time and you're sick of it, and you get jaded and bitter, I guess would be the correct term. That's what he said to me, is that he was just bitter about everything. And I think he took it out on the people who were around him. And now he's just really, I mean, when wrestling was around, he was just wrestling. He didn't have to worry about shows, didn't have to worry about a lot else. He was working a shoot job and wrestling. And I think he was the happiest that he'd been in a long time, and producing good work because of it.
It's unfortunate, but perhaps needed. So we thank IWE for giving us all a little bit of a start here and allowing us to have this platform. But this is the Limitless Wrestling Podcast, and we are here to talk about Limitless Wrestling today. I was talking with Randy earlier, and I said, why don't we do another watch-along? And we settled on the Maine State Posse. So who better to have on an MSP watch-along than DK himself? We put up 4 options that you guys could vote on to see which match you wanted to watch along with us. And I was a little surprised by how much of a runaway this one was, but I'm not going to be upset about it. On the ballot, we had MSP versus the Workhorsemen, MSP versus Violence is Forever, MSP versus Chris Statlander, Ashley Vox, and Alley Cat, and then DangerKid versus Aiden Aggro. Now, DK, did you have any preferences on which one that you want to go back and watch here?
No, honestly, I don't. These days, I don't really watch many of my matches. Like, I'll, if it's fresh and I can get the footage, like, I'll watch it back for learning purposes. But other than that, I really don't watch much of my old stuff, really. So I was really cool with any of these options, or any match for that matter. So,
did you have a preference, Randy?
Not off the top of my head. I thought that DK and Aggro in the singles match would have been cool, because I legitimately think it's been years since I've watched that one. But no, I was down for any of them. Like Danny, like I haven't really watched any of these matches lately, so I was kind of eager to see what people wanted to see us watch, and eager to watch one.
I was really looking forward to seeing if DK versus Aggro would win, because I thought that would have been a very different dynamic. That came in 3rd place. MSP versus Violence is Forever came in 4th. The 3-on-3 came in 2nd, and your winner with 53% of the vote, MSP versus the Workhorsemen. Not that I'm upset about having to watch this match. DK, where does this match stand for you in before we watch it back? Where does it stand for you in terms of your career accomplishments?
It's one of my favorite matches we've ever had. easily. If people want to like check out one of our tag matches, this is usually the one that I send them. Honestly, it's one I'm quite proud of. The Workhorsemen. This is the third time that we had worked them. First time in Limitless, but James Drake and Anthony Henry are just phenomenal. I think they're extremely underrated, both as individuals and as a team. They're just incredible. I can't say enough good things about them, even though they hurt. But yeah, they bring the best out of us, and we've learned so much from both of them each time we work them, and each time we have worked them, it's been better than the last. So it's high on my list.
Your recollections, Randy, because I remember talking about this match on our podcast, and you were saying instantly you thought this was one of the best tag team matches in Limitless history.
Yeah, I think it was in high consideration for match of the year this past year, I believe. I think it came in second or third place, but this was just electric to watch live. And I think a lot of matches like in that Portland building kind of did give off a really like wild vibe, but this one especially, like just I think like you look for matches that kind of get people invested from start to finish, and I think this is one of those that did that 100%. And you don't get a ton of those in independent wrestling. It's very tough, and there's so many different types of fans there, so how can you appeal to a majority of the audience all the time? But I think this one did.
I remember watching this and saying to myself, man, these guys, being you and Aggro, can work with anyone. And that's kind of what 2018, 2019 was all about for you guys. You were in the middle of a really big hot streak after having such a cold 2017 into 2018. Wins against the Thick Boys, Shook Crew, the new Hart Foundation was a fantastic match. Sass and Fury. What are your recollections as far as you can remember, DK, about how you guys were able to pull it together after maybe coming at each other's throats for a little bit?
Me and Aggro have always been very in tune with the direction that we're heading. You know, like it's no secret. We talk about it a lot on many different platforms. We trained very early together. My first session was his second. And being a tag team is not something either one of us had ever planned or envisioned getting into wrestling. It just made sense considering we were both there and we both jived so well. So I really think it just was a matter of getting back on the same page. Like, okay, we really got to like go all in on this tag team stuff or not at all. And let's just focus on getting wins, putting out the best matches we possibly can, and just pushing ourselves further and further with each passing Limitless show.
Randy, why do you think they were able to put that hot streak together? Because we were talking about the potential demise of the Maine State Posse, and then all of a sudden they get what Major League 2 would refer to as a winning streak.
Yeah. I mean, I think it came with the rise in the Maine State Posse themselves, because like you said, 2017 in Limitless was tough. I think they were really figuring out their identity, and especially moving between tag team and trios matches. Like you had some obscure pairings sometimes. Like I remember back to the end of 2017, I think it was DangerKid and Alexander Lee versus the Thick Boys, and seemed like nothing was working. And then really 2018, I think, is when MSP started to take off and started to become more of a known thing instead of just a regional thing. And I think just everything kind of came together at once, if that makes sense, for MSP. And quite a hot streak it was. I mean, they were ever since they rid Limitless Wrestling of Joey Eastman. They were pretty much right out straight until Alexander Lee. I'm sure we'll get to it, but at the end of this contest, Alexander Lee showed his true colors, and things changed there for the MSP moving forward.
I just remember being in the middle of that ring in the Portland club, surrounded by the Maine State Posse and Joey Eastman, and that was one of the more surreal and chaotic segments I've ever been a part of in pro wrestling, because the crowd totally took it over. And Joey Eastman was he picked up a new T-shirt idea that night.
Was that the birth of the shit weasel?
I would say that it was.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You know, it made some money off of it. So kudos to him. So this match is on the Limitless Wrestling YouTube, which if you have not subscribed to already, you definitely should. I'm actually surprised by how few views this match has because this match is excellent. So let's make sure we can get that up. Share this match after you listen to it or watch it on this podcast. And we want to see what you guys have to think about the actual match because the match is really outstanding. This went down at the 2019 Vacationland Cup, as Randy and I have talked about in recent weeks, even one of the more chaotic shows in Limitless Wrestling history. Must have been nice, Randy, to just be able to throw a match like this out there and know that it was going to deliver.
Yeah, I actually, I don't know if I knew that they had worked together previously, but I just knew, like, especially like Danny said, Drake and Henry are on another level. And it seemed like it made all the sense in the world with the matches that both teams have had recently in Limitless Wrestling. That be a good test for both teams, and I think something that our fans really wanted to see.
And neither were going to be pulled by AEW the week of, so that was a good.
Yeah, that was a plus. It was a rough week.
But everything worked out in the end, so that's all that matters. And all that matters is you pull up this match on YouTube right now. I've got my volume muted. They got their volume muted. We're going to talk about this match as it goes down. 15 minutes and 43 seconds long is this video. The Workhorsemen versus Maine State Posse, Limitless Wrestling YouTube channel. Go click it right now. We're starting at 000. Are you guys ready?
We're good. Yeah.
I am ready. So we will start this thing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, begin. Now, I should note here that if there are any technical difficulties or if a YouTube ad pops up in the middle of this, we will stop appropriately and then pick a spot up to start again. I saw Sean Stackhouse in there, the PA voice of the Maine Black Bears.
Oh, no shit.
And the Maine Principals Association state basketball tournament.
Wow.
He was the very first shot of that video, Randy.
That's funny. I didn't even know that. I know Sean, too. I didn't even see him.
At StacksRL on Twitter, he's a fantastic Rocket League play-by-play man. So,
I love Rocket League.
Honestly, you could bring him into Limitless to do some commentary. I bet you he'd do a great job.
We'll do a Limitless Rocket League tournament.
Oh, that'd be sick.
Shit going on right now. Let's
So-
go. I'll fucking roast everybody on the roster.
So, DK, where did you guys work together before?
Oh, wow. It was both times at XWA in Rhode Island.
And how'd those matches go prior to this?
Those were really good. I don't really particularly remember anything bad about any of them. The very first one, I was going for. We both went and hit suicide dives on them to the outside, and I was aiming at Anthony Henry, and totally, like, I was sweaty, he was sweaty, and I just, like, I kind of hit him, but I kind of slid off of him too and went over the barricade 3 rows deep, head first into a chair.
Ooh.
It was pretty wild. I was perfectly fine somehow, but it looked crazy and gnarly. Everybody thought I was dead. I was good though, you know. Could have been a lot worse.
If you follow the Limitless Wrestling Podcast, you know I'm a huge fan of JD Drake. He's going to be at the Synergy Wrestling GSI, the Garden State Invitational Qualifier. He's facing Tony Depp in that. That should be an outstanding match on Fight TV on July 11th. That one, proceeds going to benefit coronavirus first responders. JD Drake, just one of the more versatile pro wrestlers out there today. What's it like stepping in there with him, DK?
Intense, you know, it's like you're looking at a big rig ready to just run your ass over. You know, especially coming into this, because this is the third time that we had worked them. I knew what it was like. So, like, I knew you'll see the chops coming up. They suck. They're awful. Probably the worst I've ever felt. Probably a toss-up between him and Ace Romero, honestly, for who chops the hardest.
It's you
yeah,
and
it's intimidating being in there with Drake.
It's you
and Henry too. Honestly.
It's you and Anthony Henry starting this one out. Randy, what stands out about Anthony Henry to you?
He's just a very fluent technician. Like it just seems flawless for him. And honestly, it seems like he's doing it with no effort, even though you know it's a ton of effort. It was just, I mean, it's insane. There's a few moments in here of how quickly he ties up Danny. I mean, you see him roll through right here, grab the arm real quick. Look at him go. He's insane. And then right back to a side headlock. He can control your body in ways that you don't understand. And I think especially paired with James Drake, who's this big hoss bruiser, they make for such a unique tag team that can really hit you at any angle.
They are great.
It's really hard to keep up with. I mean, you see right there, I went for the drop down, which is just trying to trip someone coming off the ropes. And normally people it usually does not work. But, people just, float over and hit the other side of the ropes. And, he stopped there and got me in a submission. I've never had anybody pull that out on me before. It absolutely took me off guard. And that's what Anthony Henry's really good at. He is really good at just like pulling stuff out of nowhere and just really surprising people. And that's what makes him so good in the ring and so successful.
Well, I'm sure you guys...
With that drop kick out of nowhere.
I'm sure you guys saw on social media Anthony Henry stepping away from wrestling for now.
Exactly.
Yeah, at the end of the year, right? Or is he done?
I think for now he's saying that he's retiring. Obviously, retirements in pro wrestling can go anywhere, but right. For now, it looks like he's stepping away. He seemed very disappointed by a lot of the things that went down. Ooh.
Yeah, understandably so. I mean, it's a bummer, too, because I think that he was... I don't know if he had already gone or if he was on his way, but I think he was doing stuff with the New Japan Dojo in L.A., So bummer to see, because I think Anthony Henry, I mean, I think he's probably, he's like in his mid to late 30s now. So I think he's probably hurting too. He's been going hard for a long time.
DK, do you like starting the matches or do you like aggro? Because both of you are obviously full of energy, but I think aggro is so great making that tag and coming in and just lighting up the crowd. Both of you are great at it, but just watching this, even in that little sequence we just saw, it fit the role perfectly.
Yeah, I'm usually into starting the match. I'm usually chomping at the bit. By the time, we've made our entrance and our opponents have made theirs and the crowd's going. You saw at the beginning of this match, it was MSP, Workhorsemen, back and forth, and then let it go on for a little bit. I'm just, the adrenaline is just there, and I can't help myself. I need to start most of the time.
Well, there's those chops right there from JD Drake, lighting up both of you guys. Brad asks, is JD Drake's chop the worst one you've ever taken? So you said that it's a toss-up there?
Yeah, between...
Could go either way.
Sorry, can you say that again?
I was saying it could go either way for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. But James Drake is definitely like, he's up there, and I'll say that until the day I die, probably, because I don't think I'm going to come across anybody that is going to be able to hit harder. Like, look at what he's doing to me right now.
Yeah, he just lit you up. He lit you up.
I'm sitting down to get away from the chops, okay? Keep that in mind right here. Oh, I thought he gave me a chop right there. And I know he hits me with a chop while I'm sitting down, which is another thing I've never had happen to me before.
Oh,
and
the wind
double
up.
Team right here. Wind up, pitch. Look at my face. That's real. That's genuine pain, hurt, and suffering and mockery from Anthony Henry on the apron there.
Well, like, chops are the one thing in pro wrestling. They're either good or they're bad. And because you can hear it. It's as simple as that.
Very rough. I remember my chest looks just awful after this. Just hamburger meat.
Have you ever taken chops, Randy?
I have, actually. I took them. I did a few classes at IWE when I was first coming in. And on the last class I ever did, I took some chops. I took backyard chops, too, which I think are fucking worse because you never know where people are going to hit you because they suck. But,
see, this is what sucks about Anthony Henry, these kicks. Like I was going to say, he hit me with a chop right before that, and that was, that's equally as good. Like, he got me so hard with that. But those kicks, just stomping my non-existent soul out of my body.
It's rapid fire.
Those are some great
He's so quick. Like, that's the thing. It's like it's probably a normal wrestler in that scenario is probably getting in maybe 2 or 3 stomps. I think he had like 6 or 7.
Oh, look at this. Look at this. Oh.
Yeah, and that's you see in this match, it's been only a couple minutes so far. You've seen how dangerous both of them can be individually, and then right there, that kind of fluidity in a tag team that just doesn't happen. I don't think people realize that. That is special. And it's just not something that you can just throw together.
JD Drake is just so different than most guys because he is.
Right, right.
You just went limp right there. Yeah, you went limp. His dynamics are all over the place. He's a big guy, but he moves so well. And look, we're about to see it right now. Here he goes, the big Vader bomb, and bam,
Broken ribs.
just.
I don't understand. Like I say this often, I don't understand how he's not in one of the biggest companies in the world.
It's amazing, isn't it?
I really fucking don't understand. If I'm anyone in talent relations at WWE looking at this dude and Evolve, how are you not signing him?
I agreed.
And he was
How?
on the
It's like,
on the network.
I just don't understand.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with him at all.
Well, and you've worked with him, obviously, Randy, at a professional level. You said he's nothing but a pro.
I fucking love him. I'd have him on every show if I could, and pretty much for the past year I've tried to. If he hasn't been on a show, he's usually booked somewhere else.
Missile drop kick from aggro, runs into him. Look at that. Aiden aggro.
Two for the price of one.
Face, meet, foot.
And see, like, I can take the beating, and then I like, as long as I know if I can get through the beating that I take in these matches, as long as I can get over to my boy, he's gonna come in like the biggest house of fire, and that's what's gonna really catch the other team off guard. Look at them, they're gassed. He's running them both down because they just spent all their energy kicking my ass, and I know my boy's got my back, and so that's usually the play in our matches.
He does a ton of cardio, doesn't he?
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't?
He's just a freak. I do a ton of cardio because I have to.
Oh, I love that. That was great right there. That fan just got mushed by JD Drake.
Yeah, sorry, dude.
he's like,
Whoever that is.
he's like, what just happened?
That dude in the front row in the like blue shirt caught like 5 people this show.
You're
Was
saying
happy about every one of them too.
you're saying on hard cam, pal.
Yeah, you're gonna get it. Here's the receipt for the chops. You're going after the wrong guy though.
Send him up. Oh, look at that.
You see that's where the fact that this is the third time comes into play. You know what I mean? Like they had that so scouted. That's our move. That's what we do.
Oh
So,
my goodness!
That's
That-
such a sick combination.
And they're not done yet either.
Thank God this isn't me.
No, I think he gets fucked here with a cannonball.
Yeah, right here.
Yeehaw!
You can't.
Fuck.
You can't fake that. That's just hard hitting.
Drill bit.
Dude, their
I love the drill bit.
their combos are outstanding.
On another level.
You saved
Just
his ass
straight
there.
up.
You saved his ass there, Danny, because he was not kicking out of that.
Had to.
Last second. Drake's pissed.
Yeah, I should have rolled out right here. I don't know what I'm doing.
Crowd's loving it.
I'm glad the crowd liked this match so much. I'm just so proud of it. Like I'm really glad that it was so well received. I don't know. It's just I will never not be proud of this match. And I owe it a lot to this team. I know I said it earlier, but they bring the best out of us. Like see what they're bringing to the table. We have to step up our game just to survive, let alone win. You know.
Trading some hands here. Anthony Henry just letting you hit him.
And those guys are crazy. You know.
Anthony
Both of
Henry's a former MMA fighter, so I'm sure he kind of encourages the strike battle here with DK.
He absolutely does.
Is his stuff RVD snug, DK?
Yeah.
I mean, you can kind of look at it and get that idea.
Those are like my look at this. Kip up,
Fuck
Enziguri.
Right in the head, you know. Took a lot of pain in the match. I don't know how I did that. I forgot I did that.
It's adrenaline,
I
man.
was like, okay, he's about to kill me right here.
It's adrenaline,
somehow
fight
I
or
did
flight. You know.
Yep.
And now you're an idiot.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And then this out of nowhere. What is that?
Oh,
Come on. What are we doing? You freak.
straight out of Cab
Somebody
County.
give this man a lot of money.
Oh.
Well, he just gave him a foot to the face. So
Yeah, this is a fun one. I'm glad this one won.
I am loving life right now. I have pro wrestling on 3 screens right now.
Ooh,
You know how to live, Jon. Alba.
Johnny Big
This is-
Screens
this
over
is-
there from Florida.
Well, all right. I guess I can make this announcement now. I am up for Emmy number 2.
Whoa!
So
Damn.
if you think I'm insufferable right now,
Oh, Johnny 2 trophies.
Oh boy.
you better
It's gonna
hope.
be all right.
You better
2
hope
trophies, 3
that.
screens.
There's gonna be like 3 weeks of podcasts that are just you putting yourself over.
Well, we got to win first. We'll see.
Oh, that was stupid.
Big chops. Yeah, you're in the corner, and you're not in the corner. Quote unquote selling. You are hurt right now. This
Not
is
bad territory.
Oh.
See, I saw what happened earlier. I know
That's
what happened
good.
too.
Taking him out. Go for the legs. I like it. Oh, perfect timing. And aggro being like, just cover him. Just do it. Oh.
Wow.
See,
I got people out of their seats.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that didn't result in a screw up because Eric Greenleaf's the worst.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Maybe that should have been the end of it right there, but like it evokes the emotion of people standing up. Like I feel really good about that, even if that wasn't a winning.
Can
moment.
you feel
Let's just
that?
fire the fuck up.
Can you feel that in the middle of the match, or is it just all tunnel vision for you?
Oh, it's all tunnel vision pretty much. I'm trying to get the job done, and adrenaline works in these matches so crazy. Like I don't know. It's almost like I can't even hear the crowd. I don't know. I know probably a lot of people say that, but it's so true. I don't know. It's very surreal. It's almost like that time kind of flies by almost.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
Jesus, that was scary for a half second.
but he pulled it off.
I remember that live. I was like, oh my God.
Well, let's do it. 1, 2, 3.
Nice.
How
Look at
about that?
That's what you hope for out of a match. Everybody out of their fucking seat.
And they are going crazy. And how could you not? That match was about a 13-minute match, and it flew by.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
I mean, that was so quick.
Flew by. You guys pick up the win there against Anthony Henry and J.D. Drake, but that is not where this story ends, because after the match, Brandon Kirk would make his presence felt, and Alexander Lee would come down to make a bit of a save, but instead of that, DK, he turns his back on you, and Joey Eastman is pulling the strings behind everything, and the Maine State Posse, as we knew it as a trio, was no more. Take me through all of that. How did that all go down? And, I mean, you guys were so emotionally and physically spent from that match. I can't even imagine what that must have been like for you guys.
Well, leading up to this match, we had touched on earlier, we had a year where we went very, very cold. We were trying to figure a lot of things out. Then we started picking up a little bit of steam. We found ourselves having just more tag team matches. And looking back on it now, hindsight's 2020, I can definitely see how Alexander Lee kind of felt slighted and left out. Never in a million years would have seen him coming out at the end of the night with Eastman and Brandon Kirk. It just none of that was on our radar. And like you said, after the match we just all watched, we were beyond spent. Adrenaline was still running, the emotions of winning, the pain of the physical toll of Anthony and Drake beating the shit out of us. Just everything that happened after the bell rang was just, I don't know. It really was like tunnel vision. Just all happened so fast, beyond caught off guard. It was really hard. And, I didn't fully process all these emotions for a couple days after, I think it still kind of messed me up a little bit. The whole thing really fucked with me.
Randy, when you saw that go down, these are 3 of your best friends.
Yeah, this was an insane moment. I don't think I've seen the emotion of a room change so fast as to when Alexander Lee pummeled them with the buoy, forcing MSP to reinstate Joey Eastman if they wanted to get their retribution against him and Brandon Kirk. I think it was just a very emotional situation for especially people like me, people like I don't know, a lot of the dojo students who had been very close to everyone and had not a clue what was going on. I just think it took took everyone by surprise, caught everybody off guard, and just was one of those moments where it kind of felt like a hostile environment. I compare it to like the MJF Ashley Vox match from Hooked on a Friedman, of just like very tense, emotional moments that really stick with you for a long time.
Where do you guys stand with Alexander Lee right now?
That's a funny question because he deleted all of us and fucking deleted his Facebook a couple weeks ago.
Why'd he do that? Any idea?
I don't know. There's Alexander Lee.
Alexander Lee, as a person, I feel like has a lot of deep-rooted issues, to no fault of his own. And I think he's just a very nihilistic person and kind of views everything in general as like the world is against him almost. Maybe not so much as a personal thing, like maybe it's him against the world rather.
I think that's where this entire thing with Eastman came from. Is just that's kind of been their prerogative since dumping the other members of MSP in July, and then after September they were really done with Brandon Kirk. So it's been a weird avenue for both Alexander Lee and Eastman to take, of just it's really been them kind of sectioning themselves off and just kind of trying to continue to believe that everybody is against them, whether it's in Limitless Wrestling or anywhere.
Would Alexander Lee ever be welcomed back into the Maine State Posse?
I don't know. I don't know if I can really fully answer that.
It's a heavy question.
I don't know if I've ever really thought about that. I don't know if anything like that would ever even remotely be on or close to the table for either side, really. I don't know if you'd ever want to. Tough to say. But ultimately, that's not just my decision to make, so I really feel like I cannot answer that fully.
What do you think it would take for that to happen? Would there need to be some sort of meeting, reconciliation?
Absolutely. That would be a big start. I don't know. It's really, it comes down to, it's a relationship, it was a friendship. Actually, it was a brotherhood. And obviously, like, we've all been through that before, even before this, the first Vacationland Cup, we all wrestled each other. We've been there, we've done that. This one was just much more, and it would just have to be something that we would all have to kind of come together and work on to mend. And he would have to do a lot of the legwork to really change how I feel about certain things.
We had a couple other questions that I want to ask you real quick here. Jason asked, were you upset about not being part of the Vacationland Cup last year, or were you happy to be back in a tag team situation?
I think there's always kind of a bummer to not be included in something as special as the Vacationland Cup, because it is a very cool thing. I have a lot of faith in it as a tournament. I was very stoked to be a part of the first one and make it to the finals. So that kind of helped me with dealing with not being in this past year's Vacationland Cup. But, I'm a tag team wrestler at heart, and I think it's more important for me to be having a match like what we just watched with the Workhorsemen on a card like that, rather than taking up a single spot from one of the many incredible roster members that we have here in Limitless.
Jessica has our final question here. If you could create an 8-team tournament in Limitless, what other 6 teams would you include along with MSP and the Workhorsemen? So I'll tee this up to all of us here.
Oof, that's a good question.
I think based on recent history, you'd have to throw whatever it takes in there. Mark Sterling and VSK.
Yeah,
I would agree.
Coming.
Got to get the Thick Boys back in action, I think. John Silver, Jay Freddy.
I'd personally love to see Butcher and the Blade in there. That's a team that we have not had a chance to mix it up with yet, and I'm not sure what their status is with AEW as far as exclusivity, but
that was gonna happen on the show. I'm trying to think of it right now.
I was thinking about this before we started the match. Wasn't that the match we just watched supposed to be a triple threat with them included in it?
I don't think so. It was right around the time when they got signed to AEW, because the next So it might have been
The Violence is
Twilight
Forever.
Zone, because you guys weren't originally supposed to wrestle AG and Ace. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that Twilight Zone was originally going to be Butcher and the Blade MSP. But Butcher and the Blade, I think that is when they signed. Yeah, because the last show that they did for us was Fresh Blood October. So that was actually going to be a match at Twilight Zone if everything went to plan.
Can we also talk about how, like, low key, and I would do anything for you guys to be in this match, because I would take all of these teams in Limitless next week on Fighter Fest. You're going to have FTR and the Young Bucks versus the Lucha Brothers and the Butcher and the Blade as the main event. And
Wow.
I mean, I would have all of those teams in Limitless in that tournament in a fantasy world.
Oh, yeah.
I think the
Perfect
Lucha
world for
I think the Lucha Brothers are just. I would love to see you and Aggro mix it up with the Lucha Brothers.
That'd be wild.
Have you ever been in the ring with Ray Phoenix or Pentagon?
No, we've been on. I don't think one show with them. They're very nice dudes, but you know they had their match and we had ours, and it was very brief interaction. But yeah, nice guys. Never had the pleasure of getting in the ring with them though. But yeah, who knows? It might happen someday.
Any other teams come to mind, Randy?
Violence is Forever is another one who comes to mind. Dominic Guarini and Kevin Koo. I think they were going to be a pretty big part of Limitless moving forward in 2020 if we were able to proceed. But I'd like to get them involved. And I feel like we'd need some Let's Wrestle representation. So maybe the tag team champions of the Stigma, Eric Johnson and
I like
Brandino
that.
Davis.
I like that. You know, I was going to recommend for a second doing the Syndicate MSP match for this watch along.
Oh, the trios?
The trios with the
That was nuts. Yeah.
That was
a fun time.
It was a doozy.
That was crazy. There was there a door in that one? I don't, or a board, right? With like
There was a pine cone door, right?
Yeah,
pine cone door.
I got a bunch of pine cones because those things suck, and I glued them to a door and wrote MSP on the door, and we put somebody through it. I think.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I think it was Micah.
Yeah, I think that was the end of the match.
Owen Brody, excuse me.
Jeez.
But I also think, like, I'm trying to rack my brain right now, and I might be wrong. But in the world of Limitless Wrestling, I think that was the last trios match of MSP as a unit.
I think so too.
I think it was that Syndicate match.
It would have been May 2019.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think 100%, because we had the Locker Mess Festival that year, but they all did either tags or singles. So I think that's the last trios match of them as a unit.
Can you and Aiden Aggro just beat up Dave Dyer for me?
I mean, if you pay us.
Oh, come on. Like you need.
I thought you were gonna step in the ring, John.
Oh,
I thought
I'm
we
ready.
already had this
Why can't
conversation.
I'm ready, but right now I can't travel out of the state of Florida, so
Johnny two trophies, looking for enemies, can't travel.
Listen, it sucks. I had that big rant last week. I'll have the rant again this week. I'm tired of people not wearing their damn mask. Wear your mask so I can leave this godforsaken state and square off with that Belfast puppy dog that is Dave Dyer. I'm down. Let's make it happen. You want to be the
All right.
special guest ref, DK?
Yeah, sure, man. I mean,
Anything's better
this
than
is a verbal
Greenleaf.
contract right here, so this is happening eventually.
Anything's better than Greenleaf.
I agree.
That's
the one
true.
thing I can't agree with you.
You
on.
might have merch coming out soon.
Yeah.
To like give to like the Ugandan children that like get all the
Well,
Super Bowl
eventually when he
shirts.
doesn't sell any of it, but yeah.
Okay.
Now he's going to be ripped, and I guarantee you,
Yeah.
about a day and a half after this comes out, I'm going to get a message from Greenleaf that says, "I want on that fucking podcast to rip apart Jon Alba." So we're going to have to get that fucker on the podcast.
We can do the Eric Greenleaf throwdown, and I am beyond ecstatic for that. Beyond. Bring it on. Let's do it.
I think he just needs like a 5-minute segment, and I think that'll be enough of Greenleaf for everyone, and it'll shut him up for a little bit. So,
Well,
5
the
minutes,
thing
no more than
is,
5 minutes.
the thing is, we would tell him 5 minutes, but he would miscount and end up for longer. So that's typically what he does. So yeah, the amazing thing about Eric Greenleaf is no matter what I say to him, he kisses my ass like crazy. It's outstanding. So let's.
well, you have
let's
an
do it.
Emmy, John.
I have heard that. So That's this edition of the Limitless Wrestling Podcast. Watching it back, guys, what did you think of that match?
It was a fun watch. I
loved it.
I had fond memories coming into this watch along, and I'm leaving like, okay, yep, that was solid. Still a match to be proud of. I definitely, I've been in the dojo a lot with this whole quarantine, and just watching that back, I'm like, yep, I like this. I'm proud of this, but I know we can do even better. And I see a couple small things to work on. So yeah, I'm excited to get back into the lab and work on some stuff.
Randy?
My boy Aggro.
I really liked it, and I think it's a solidifier because, like, this is one of those matches, like I said earlier, you watch it in person, that it's going to translate well to video, and I think it translated even better. I might even rewatch it later with the sound on because the environment of everything really tied everything together. But really fun watch. I like these watch-along ones a lot. I think they're a lot of fun.
I agree, and I hope you guys all enjoyed it. We'll see you guys next time on the Limitless Wrestling Podcast.